First of all, huge sorry from the Fox family to what happened to your father. How's he feeling today? Is he ready for what's in store for him this week? And what did you say to him when that first happened?
I literally called him, and him and I have an interesting relationship. My first words, the first words out of my mouth were, "You're the biggest badass I've ever seen," and I actually mean that, right? I sort of just said it. Everyone these days is a tough guy on the internet or on a keyboard, but when you've actually been shot and you can get up, defiant, fist in the air, telling people to stay in the game, to fight. That's exactly the kind of leadership we need. That's actually a man that's been tested. Everyone thinks they're going to be the tough guy. Most aren't. He is, and I could not have been more impressed with him in that moment. And I've been impressed with him for a long time.
This was an incredibly close call, and the former First Lady Melania Trump, put it so eloquently in her letter that it was so close. Her whole life could have changed. Your life could have changed. What did you feel in that moment when you found out what had happened, when just the first pieces of information were coming out?
Yeah, no, it was very tough because it took me about 90 minutes to actually get anything, right? They'd lock everything down. He's in the hospital. There's no cell phones, I assume, because of potential IED type stuff when they don't know what's going on. So I was I got a call, my father's been shot, and that's the only information you have. And it took about 90 minutes to even find out that he's alive and well. So that was a rough time. And then I spoke to him and I said what I said. And we sort of even in that moment, he was still having some levity, and you just back in the game, and it was incredible. It was actually a couple hours later when you sit down, you start reading it, you start seeing the videos, and that's when it was like just the adrenaline dump hits, and it was different. It was a life-changing experience.
There's a lot of scrutiny about the Secret Service. There's going to be oversight hearings on Capitol Hill. What do you think happened? Do you think something went wrong? Was he vulnerable?
Listen, I know a lot of those guys, and some of them are incredible patriots. I had a Secret Service detail for 4 years, but I also know, having had it, having been in it, having been both my father as a president, as a candidate, my own details, someone to get out on an open roof within 130 yards. I'm not going to be the guy to be conspiratorial, but something went wrong.
So should he stop doing those outdoor rallies, perhaps? Is that what you would recommend to him?
I don't think he'd want to stop doing them. I think you see the response.
Maybe, do you want to tell him?
Stop, but I think, we got to guard that perimeter a little bit better. I came from a competitive shooting background. A 130-yard shot, it's like a 2-foot putt. That's nothing. It doesn't get easier than that. So that was truly divine intervention as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think it's hit him yet? Do you think it's sort of finally settled in for him?
Oh, 100%. I think it settled in, and he's moving on. The resolve, the defiance that you saw in the seconds after that, he's just going to carry that energy on and fight for our country that way.
He's moving on now with this VP pick, JD Vance, who obviously was a favorite of yours. Talk to me about why, and what you told your father.
I just said, listen, he's a guy. Honestly, what it is I watched JD go into sort of, let's call it, enemy territory from a media perspective, go on the most liberal TV shows and prosecute the case for my father and against the Democrat lunacy that we've seen. He does that better than almost any of our people can do on more conservative television. And you see that, you see the intelligence, and you hear his life story. That's going to resonate. We have a very tough electoral college map. People are like, oh, it's over now. Nothing's over. It's not over. It's not over till the last ballots close on November 5th, and if the Democrats get their way, they'll drag it on till 2:30, 4 in the morning otherwise. So we have to stay in the game. He's a guy that can go to the Rust Belt, to the places like Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and articulate that case. He's lived an incredible American dream story, and when more people figure that out, I think they'll see that I was probably really, really correct in sort of my choice.
Do you feel like he can lead? There's been some criticism that he doesn't have enough political experience. He's a freshman senator from Ohio, not enough
executive. Had zero political experience. He led us to peace deals in the Middle East, the greatest job economy in the world, incredible prosperity for everyone with no experience. If experience is a marker for Washington, D.C. politics, it's a bad one. How many people do we see that chair committees that don't know what they're talking about only because they've been there longer? I can go through whether it's Maxine Waters or a bunch of the Democrats, they're in positions of power because they've had tenure, not because they actually know anything about what they're chairing. If experience in politics is anything, I don't think it's very important at all, frankly.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Defiance, defiance. Prosperity, prosperity. Intervention, intervention. Divine, divine. Perimeter, perimeter. Scrutiny, scrutiny. vulnerable, vulnerable, conspiratorial, conspiratorial, levity, levity, adrenaline dump, adrenaline dump.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.